The freedom-loving world salutes its first citizen, the youngest 75-year-old ever known.
Thank you very much for all your kindness.
Some men are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. With Winston Churchill, all three are true. Born to a great name, he found greatness early. Then came the wilderness, and not till Britain's darkest hour was greatness thrust upon him. Today, party politics are swept aside as a grateful nation salutes Churchill, the war leader, the Briton who put the free-thinking nations forever in his debt. Highlight of this memorable day is a luncheon in Mr. Churchill's honor at the Danish Embassy. There, before a distinguished company of guests, the famous pay tribute to one for whom no honor is too high. And throughout the day at his Kensington home, the world adds its greetings. In kind or by letter, they all mean the same. Happy birthday, Winston, and may there be many more. Hosts at the big birthday luncheon are Queen Ingrid of Denmark and King Frederick. And to underline that this is no day for political bickering, the Prime Minister is there to lead the nation's tribute, a tribute voiced again later in the House of Commons. For with Churchill, it is as Shakespeare said, "Wherever the bright sun of heaven shall shine, his honor and the greatness of his name shall be."
To Mr. Churchill's London home came a stream of presents and congratulations on his 76th birthday. As you'd expect indeed, gifts and good wishes arrived from all over the world. There was a birthday cake in the shape of the Churchill Arch in the new House of Commons, with decorations of roses and thorns to recall the triumphs and the trials of his great career. He was looking fit and buoyant when he left his home. I don't suppose he was much amused by a shower of leaflets saying, "Cease fire in Korea now." These had been presented by a large crowd of 2 women.
An iced cake replica of the Churchill Arch in the new House of Commons arrives at Hyde Park Gate. Flowers come from known and unknown, and messengers with telegrams. Now comes Mr. Antony Eden to congratulate his great chief and friend. And there's the press, waiting as the best-known man in the world celebrates his 76th birthday.
I'd like to congratulate you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Now I've got to go.
On this day, the nation salutes the man who saved us by his brave leadership. But even on his birthday, some fanatical extremist has to shower him with political pamphlets. So long as we breed such men, for so long shall we be a great nation. From all over the world, good wishes pour into number 10, and here's Christopher Soames come to wish father-in-law many happy returns. Presents, too. This one's well disguised. Maybe it's a bigger majority. His years have been fruitful, and in the birthday cake, friends have put feathers in his hat to record each success, with 77 more for each year of his age. May the coming year bring him the last prize he seeks to win, a lasting settlement of peace.
This is Movie Tone. Lionel Gamlin reporting. The cake for Mr. Churchill's 78th birthday was a magnificent creation. Made in the shape of a hat, and after all, the Premier has worn many shapes, it had the 4 seasons illustrated on the sides, as well as a superb candle and inscription on top. Presents, tributes and telegrams came in a steady flow to number 10, and when those in waiting in Downing Street saw Mr. and Mrs. Churchill leave, they also saw that he was taking no birthday chances with the weather. With due respect, in fact, his coat took the cake.
Wrapped up and ready for the races, Mr. Churchill and his wife set off for Kempton Park to see his horse non-stop run in the 3:30. The Prime Minister is to celebrate his 78th birthday, so not far away. The finishing touches are being put to his cake. A cigar-shaped candle and panels representing the 4 seasons are part of the decorations. Flowers for the famous man are among the hundreds of gifts that pour in from all over the world. Telegrams, birthday cards and letters have kept the post office busy for days. A crowd soon gathers on Mr. Churchill's birthday. And what a grin he gives them on this happy day. The Churchill's pet poodle is left behind as the Premier leaves with his daughter Mary. To the grand old man still young at heart, we wish many happy returns.
Well-wishers gathered at number 10 on Mr. Churchill's 79th birthday, and there was a constant stream of presents and greetings from countless friends. Great variety of gifts arrived, of course, pictures and flowers, and there, I fancy, is a congenial case of champagne. When the Premier came out into Downing Street, he received more good wishes.
Happy return!
And birthday greetings from the crowd followed him as he drove away to the House of Commons. Late at night, Canopus was ready for him at London Airport, and so were newsreel and press cameramen. And now, as he enters his 80th year, Winston Churchill arrives to begin his flight to Bermuda for talks with Western friends and allies. Talks on a wide range of world problems at a conference preliminary to a possible meeting with the Russians. Mrs. Eden came with her husband to say goodbye aboard the Stratocruiser. The Chancellor of the Exchequer and other members of the government were there to see the Premier off, and when Mrs. Eden had come down the steps, only a few moments remained before Canopus set out. All Britain wished the Premier and Mr. Eden bon voyage and success to the conference.
Years ago, in Blenheim Palace, built for his great ancestor, Marlborough, Sir Winston Churchill was born. This is the room itself. And here's a picture of him as a little boy with his American-born mother, Lady Randolph Churchill. Some of his long curls are still preserved at Blenheim. Now, at the beginning of an army career, young Churchill as an officer in the 4th Hussars. Incredible as it may seem today, he actually took part in that famous cavalry charge at the Battle of Omdurman. He went to the Boer War. It seems natural now that he should have been there on the spot. He was taken prisoner but escaped, and £25 was placed on his head, dead or alive. Then, still early in his life, peacetime politics claimed him. As Home Secretary in 1911, he appeared on the scene, he would, of course, at the so-called Battle of Sydney Street. That astonishing affray was indeed a battle. These old pictures are a record of the event, during which police and troops had to be marshalled against desperate criminals. This film's rather like a drama of the early movies, but it was all grim enough in fact. In the course of Churchill's tremendous political career, he has also been President of the Board of Trade, First Lord, Minister of Munitions, Secretary of State for War, for Air and for the Colonies, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Prime Minister and Minister of Defence. In World War I, as First Lord, he mobilized the fleet and played a Churchillian part in that first fearful struggle against Germany. This painting shows him and Mr. Lloyd George with their colleagues in Premier Asquith's War Cabinet. For a period between the two world wars, while not in the government, he wrote warnings of the coming storm. And when the storm broke, it was not long before this man of vast experience and sterling courage was called upon to lead his embattled country. His wartime speeches are unforgettable. This is how he spoke to the country during the first period of extreme peril.
We shall defend every village, every town, and every city. And we would rather see London laid in ruins and ashes than that it should be tamely and abjectly enslaved.
And again, after the fall of France.
Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duty, and so bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour.
The Battle of Britain now, in which the Royal Air Force shattered Hitler's hopes of invasion. This is how he summed up.
Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.
Throughout the terrible years of war, Britain's great war leader was tireless. Indeed, he worked unceasingly to carry out his declared policy of victory whatever the cost.
We cannot yet see how deliverance will come, or when it will come. But nothing is more certain than that every trace of Hitler's footsteps, every stain of his infected and corroding fingers will be sponged and purged, and if need be, blasted from the surface of the earth.
The burdens of war leadership were, of course, immense. Not the least important of his duties were his journeys and conferences with Allied leaders. His cooperation with the late President Roosevelt was vital to victory. His meetings with Stalin followed his own axiom that everyone who fought against Hitler was a friend. When victory at last drew near, Winston Churchill, of course, went to the continent to see for himself. Here he is crossing the Rhine. What a great moment it must have been for him. Victory, however, was followed by political defeat. Throughout his unique career, his wife had shared his triumphs and his disappointments, and so it was once more. Churchill took up his pen again, and from it flowed volume after volume of his war memoirs, a tremendous record of the fearful years of conflict. He took up his brush, and painting as a pastime, he added to the large collections of his work as an artist. For most men, painting is a total occupation. For Churchill, it's a relaxation and something that his character demands, adventure. Presently, the country had the opportunity to choose again, and this time Churchill and his party were reinstated after vigorous campaigning by the veteran campaigner. But peace had become a Cold War, and more journeys to conferences were undertaken by the Premier, now Sir Winston Churchill. In Jamaica, for example, at Woodford, to celebrate his 30 years of service as their member, his constituents have presented him with a portrait of Lady Churchill. One can well imagine how such a birthday present delighted him. He was quick to point out that it couldn't have been painted without his wife's help. He was entitled, he said, to express his thoughts and thanks to her in a decisive form. This he proceeded to do.
Les 80 ans de Sir Winston Churchill ont mis le premier Britannique en présence d'un cake gigantesque et lui ont valu d'être le héros d'un hommage solennel du Parlement. Le doyen de la Chambre lui a remis à cette occasion un recueil renfermant la signature de tous les députés. Et les parlementaires lui ont offert son portrait, dont il est d'ailleurs peu satisfait.
The day when the Queen is to open Parliament in state is also by happy coincidence the 80th birthday of Sir Winston Churchill, Her Majesty's First Minister, and undoubtedly the greatest man of our century. Measuring 3 feet 4 inches in diameter is this giant birthday present from a London baker. Now a vast bouquet of English roses, divided into 2 displays so that it may pass through the doorway. Thousands of similar gifts have been sent from all over the world to honour Sir Winston, who leaves Downing Street to attend the state opening of Parliament. At the Palace of Westminster, the traditional search for Guy Fawkes is carried out by yeomen of the guard. Meanwhile, members of the Lords and Commons and their wives enter for the ceremony. The downpour of rain suddenly stops and a rainbow curves across the London sky. Even the weather is kind for such an important birthday as this. The Irish state coach brings Her Majesty and Prince Philip to Westminster. The Queen, who is to make a speech from the throne, wears a glittering coronet of pearls and diamonds. Outside the House of Lords, the Sovereign's escort of household cavalry lines up, as, accompanied by her husband, the Queen enters to deliver her address and to seek God's blessing upon the Council of her Ministers. At noon, the scene changes to Westminster Hall, where drum beats, sounding the victory signal, herald the entrance of Sir Winston. Appropriately, it is the leader of the opposition, Mr. Attlee, who speaks for members of all parties in congratulating the Premier and presenting their gift.
On behalf of both Houses of Parliament, Prime Minister, I ask you to accept this portrait.
The portrait is the work of Graham Sutherland, one of the most famous and controversial painters of our time. Doubtless, Sir Winston has very decided views about the portrait, for of course, he is a skilled painter himself. Now the Premier is to receive another birthday gift. The father of the house, Mr. Grenfell, presents a book signed by all but a handful of members of the House of Commons. It is their personal tribute to the man who has guided the destinies of our nation with such vigor and courage through some of the grimmest hours of our history. Now Sir Winston, described by Mr. Attlee as the last of the great orators who can touch the heights, thanks his fellow members.
This is, to me, the most memorable public occasion of my life. No one has ever received a similar mark of honor before. There has not been anything like it in British history, and indeed I doubt whether any of the modern democracies abroad has shown such a degree of kindness and generosity to a party politician who has not yet retired and may at any time be involved in controversy. The portrait is a remarkable example of modern art. Ladies and gentlemen, I am now nearing the end of my journey. I hope I still have some services to render. However that may be, and whatever may befall, I am sure I shall never forget the emotions of this day, or be able fully to express my gratitude to those colleagues and companions with whom I have lived my life for this wonderful honor they have done me.
To Sir Winston Churchill's 81st birthday party comes daughter Mary and other members of his family. Next, her husband, Mr. Christopher Soames. Evidently, it's going to be a party befitting the grand old man of British politics. The Among the guests is Lady Violet Bonham Carter. The son-in-law, Mr. Duncan Sands, arrives with Mrs. Randolph Churchill. And here's her husband, Sir Winston and Lady Churchill's only son. Such a birthday is a national affair, not just a family one. So it's many happy returns to Britain's eternally youthful elder statesman.
This is Movietone. Geoffrey Sumner reporting. At Chartwell, his home in Kent, Sir Winston, Lord Warden of the Cinque Ports, was celebrating. All day long, telegrams by the hundred came pouring in with congratulations. Good wishes, as Sir Winston said, from friends known and unknown all over the world. His son, his daughters, and other relatives came along. Almost every one of his family was there during the weekend. At 84, a man must be careful of winter chills. But Sir Winston came out for a minute to acknowledge greetings and to pose for the cameras. Just for a minute. Then, hearing well-wishers singing happy birthday to you, out again for a wave and a smile of thanks. It certainly is a cake worthy of a great man's 85th birthday. Made of ingredients from all over the world, including water from Panama and cognac from France. Some cake, some birthday. Presents of all kinds kept arriving at his London home. He'd come up from Kent for the day, and his staff was kept very busy coping with the flow of tributes. Callers included Lord Beaverbrook, an old friend and wartime colleague, who came to wish him many happy returns. And still the gifts kept coming. There was to be a family dinner that night. Meanwhile, Sir Winston was leaving for the House of Commons, where he received an all-party tribute. A great day for Sir Winston and Lady Churchill, who've been together now for over 50 years.
On 28 Hyde Park Gate turned the affectionate thoughts of millions. Sir Winston was 85. Lord Moran, his doctor for many years, called to congratulate him, and there were callers all day. The humble and the eminent came to wish him well. Lord Beaverbrook, a very old friend, was a most valued wartime colleague. The 60-pound birthday cake included ingredients from all over the world and bore messages of esteem from many parts. And how appropriate for the man who belongs not only to Britain, but to all mankind. Different indeed would have been the world but for Winston Churchill. The old warrior himself was in real birthday form. In fact, he found time to go to Westminster to receive the congratulations of the House. The whole free world said, many happy returns.
Sir Winston's birthday cake, like the character of the grand old man it was made for, has got pretty well everything. It's a cornucopia, pouring out achievements and honours in plenty. Painter, author, statesman, Knight of the Garter, and many other facets of his life. It's good to hear he's getting better. We join in the wishes that came from all over the world for his 86th birthday.
came from all over the world most affectionate greetings to Sir Winston Churchill on his 86th birthday. 28 Hyde Park Gate hadn't answered the bell so many times since the same day last year. A great man, of great age, loved and esteemed everywhere. The very original birthday cake symbolized the horn of plenty, from which had issued the varied tastes of a full life. Family arrivals included Mr. Randolph Churchill and Sir Winston's daughters, Diana, and the youngest, the wife of Christopher Soames, Mary, very much the mother. Lady Churchill had to tell the people outside that Sir Winston could not appear either at the door or at the window. Owing to his recent fall, it would have been too much of a strain. Adding a picturesque touch were members of the local riding school. Monty, of course, came to pay his respects to his old friend. Indoors, it really was something like a birthday. Sir Winston Churchill has touched life at so many points that the greetings came from all classes and every facet of life. Politics and all the arts, especially literature and painting. Millions toasted him in thought. In another room was the man who, in our finest hour, was Great Britain.
All day long, congratulations in one form or another came pouring into his townhouse on his 87th birthday. Telegrams, presents. Presents and telegrams in a constant flow from all over the world. From his friend Mr. Onassis, a cake in the shape of the yacht in which they've travelled together. A present from a neighbour, the girl next door, in fact. Champagne by the case was another agreeable gift. Sir Winston presently came out with Lady Churchill. He later attended the House of Commons. May we add our congratulations and wish him many happy returns of the day.
And who actually brought the flowers? Who are you?
Oh, David.
Yes, and your friend?
Sailing.
Is this the first time you've come to see Sir Winston on his birthday? What gave you the idea of doing it? It was a very nice idea, and I'm sure he'll enjoy the flowers very much.
28 Hyde Park Gate almost wanted its own post office. Such was the amount of mail pouring in to congratulate Sir Winston Churchill on his 88th birthday. Could there be any other man in Britain who was so much in the affectionate thoughts of so many people? The old warrior seems one of the family. Lord Moran, his doctor, was an early caller. He said afterwards he was quite satisfied with the condition of the patient. Two rather younger visitors had the honor of being received by Lady Churchill. They came from a local riding school, a touch that must have warmed the old man's heart. A box of oysters. There was to be a dinner party that night. Madame Fleury, with her son, created the wonderful birthday cake. It bore some of Winston's most famous sayings. When the happy warrior came to the window, he looked in good birthday form. Best wishes from us all and a lot of happy returns. Destination of every telegraph boy in London was 28 Hyde Park Gate. The occasion, the 89th birthday of Sir Winston Churchill. Tributes galore arrived all day. The birthday cake was something very special. It paid tribute to the happy warrior's unique service to freedom's cause in the war, and also portrayed the honorary citizenship of America conferred on him since his last birthday. Lord Moran, Winston's friend and medical advisor, was among the many callers. To make the cake even more palatable, it was laced with a little brandy. As usual on these occasions, Sir Winston came to the window to wave acknowledgements to the little crowd outside. Surely no man has a warmer place in the affections of more people than Winston Churchill. Millions throughout the world wished him a happy birthday and a lot more of them.
Unter den Köpfen dieser Woche Papst Paul VI.
Unter seiner Leitung ging die zweite Sitzungsperiode des Zweiten Vatikanischen Konzils zu Ende. Über 2000 Konzilsväter hatten 10 Wochen lang versucht, in einer Synthese aus Traditionsbewusstsein und Reformwillen den Weg der katholischen Kirche in einer neuen Zeit zu bestimmen. Wie sehr das Pendel auf die Seite der Neuerer ausschlug, bewies die sensationelle Ankündigung des Papstes, im Januar nach Palästina zu reisen. Unter den Köpfen dieser Woche Haile Selassie.
Präsident Tito konnte den äthiopischen Kaiser in Belgrad zwar nicht als politischen, aber immerhin als taktischen Gesinnungsgenossen in Empfang nehmen. Denn auch der Negus aus Addis Abeba sieht das Heil seines Landes in der Zugehörigkeit zum blockfreien Lager. Auf dem Belgrader Parkett wurden zwei grundverschiedene Welten durch gemeinsame Interessen aufs angenehmste versöhnt. So sehr, dass der Kommunist Tito sein Dogma vergaß und plötzlich einen Kaiser in seinen Armen hielt. Unter den Köpfen der Woche Sir Winston Churchill,
der in London von kleinen und großen Gratulanten Geschenke und Glückwünsche zu seinem 89. Geburtstag erhielt. Selbst in der Gestaltung der Geburtstagstorten wird etwas von dem fast legendären Ruhm eines Mannes sichtbar, der zweifellos zu den grandiosen Staatsmännern, Denkern und Schriftstellern unserer Zeit gehört und nun dabei ist, die Beständigkeit seines Ruhms mit viel Ausdauer zu prüfen. Unter den Köpfen dieser Woche schließlich der amerikanische Präsident Johnson,
der sich bereits in den ersten Wochen seiner Amtszeit mit Vehemenz und texanischer Arbeitswut in die Regierungsgeschäfte eingearbeitet hat. Begegnungen mit den höchsten Militärs des Landes, mit Verteidigungsminister McNamara und Außenminister Rusk sowie Ex-Präsident Eisenhower gehören ebenso zu seinem 18-stündigen Arbeitstag wie die Überreichung einer Tapferkeitsmedaille an den Leibwächter Youngblood. Dieser hatte in Dallas den Vizepräsidenten mit seinem Körper gedeckt.
Nichts ist heldenhafter, als sein eigenes Leben für ein anderes zu opfern.
This is Movie Time. Leslie Mitchell reporting. At Sir Winston's house in Hyde Park Gate, crowds of well-wishers braved the wintry weather during the birthday celebration of the greatest living Englishman. Inside, it must have looked like something between a flower shop and a GPO sorting office. Among the goodwill messages, more than ever before, many came from youngsters born long after the years of his greatest achievements. Oysters for the family's celebration dinner, and a cake weighing over 100 weight, bearing the famous words that summarize his own career so completely. Since Churchill's birth, 9 historic decades have passed, and in almost every one he has played an historic part. Our cameraman was caught up by the crowd as they surged forward to add their greetings to all the rest. A very happy birthday, Sir Winston.